If you want to get to that social media sort of bliss that you see when it comes to travel, it takes a lot of work. It's not something that just comes instantaneously. So it all comes from just preparing and planning very meticulously.
Welcome to Travel Love Legacy, a podcast that highlights and celebrates the experiences of Black and Brown families who use travel as a means to create and build legacy. Hear the stories of Black and Brown parents who are building a nest egg of long-lasting memories, resiliency, and worldly perspectives for their young ones. I'm Melanie, the host and creator, the Trinidadian Canadian mother of a pink-obsessed and awe-inspiring princess. Travel Love Legacy is a collection of stories that serves to inspire those who are yet to take the leap, so together we can leave behind a world filled of Black and Brown global citizens.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Travel Love Legacy. I'm so excited to bring this podcast to you, and I'm especially excited that the very first interview is with my one and only male interviewee actually for the season. His name is Courtney. Courtney shares his experience with his wife and kids traveling to the Caribbean and to North America, as well as his views when it comes to traveling on a budget, as well as separating what we see on social media versus reality of family travel. So I hope you guys take a listen. There are quite a few actionable tips that he has mentioned, and enjoy. So I began my chat with Courtney asking him to introduce himself and provide us with a bit of background on his family.
My family history: I've been married to my wife Shanika for this year will be 10 years. I can't believe it. 10 years this year, this May. We'll be celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary. We have three beautiful children. Serafina, she's our first. She'll be 8 in May. Jeremiah, he's turning 6. Oh my gosh, 6 in November. And then we have Isabella, the baby. She'll be 2 in April. So we're a Jamaican background, so that's probably our favorite destination to go back to, Jamaica.
Before we even start discussing family travel, I asked Courtney to take us through what travel looked like pre-kids.
4 kids, Shanika and I, we always loved to travel. Before we met each other, we traveled, alone, respectively. Then, of course, when we got together and got married, we started to travel together.
We then got on to the topic of family travel, and I asked Courtney for his views on travel after having kids and whether or not there were any changes that he made mentally.
Then, when we had kids, we're like, you know what? We're not going to let kids stop us from traveling. We love traveling so much. So, kids came along and traveling didn't stop. The only thing that stopped us from traveling was COVID. But other than that, we have been a traveling family.
I then asked Courtney to describe how travel has impacted his family.
Well, one thing that we love so much about traveling is just getting away from the everyday. When we're here, boggled down with the daily routine, the daily 9 to 5 grind, it just becomes so overwhelming. It gets stressful, to be honest with you. So we decided that, once kids aren't going to stop us from, enjoying life, enjoying other cultures. We want them to experience, what we experience as well. So the world is just so big, and to be able to get out there and to see different cultures and embrace ourselves into, different cultures, and just to see the world around us, we just want our kids to make sure that they have that experience to achieve what we achieved too.
I asked Courtney to give us some details and describe the first time he traveled with his family and what that initial experience was like and others that followed.
Yeah, well, the very first trip that we took with Serafina, that's our first. She was only 5 months at the time. I can still have her passport picture. She looks like, I think we took her passport when she was like 1 month old. She couldn't even keep her head up. So we had to keep her head up. And it looks nothing like her at all because when you're that young, your facial features change so quickly. So we had gone to Florida yeah, when she was 5 months old. And it was an interesting experience. We traveled as a group, so we went with probably a group of about I want to say maybe about 10 to 15 of us went down to Florida, Destin, Florida for a week or so. And it wasn't too bad traveling with one child. We had extra help with us, so it was, very manageable. Fast forward to our second trip with Serafina, I believe she was 8 or 9 months, we took her to the Dominican Republic. That one, we just went all by ourselves. We had no assistance with us. Still, it wasn't too bad because, it's two of us, one baby. So it was very manageable. And that was a lovely trip to the Dominican Republic. And then I think before we took her to Hawaii as well when she was, I think, right before her second birth. We tried to jam pack. But before you're 2 years old, kids can travel for free. So we tried to just load up as many trips with her as possible. I believe we had gone to Jamaica with her too when she was a year and a half, I want to say. Then we went to before she turned two, we went to Hawaii. Yeah, we just tried to just load up, get in those free trips with her as much as possible, and those are great. For the most part, like I said, we were traveling alone, so it wasn't too bad because it was just one child. Fast forward to when Jeremiah was born, and there were now two. Thankfully, he was born in 2018. We took a first trip with him in I believe it was September or October of 2019, I believe, right before the pandemic. We went to Jamaica. So, and again, we traveled with a group. We were probably in a group of about 20 of us. My mom was with us, so it was very helpful. So we were, sort of nervous. Oh my gosh, we're traveling with two kids. What's going to happen? But we had a lot of help around us, so it was very, very manageable. It was a great trip. And like I told you before, Jamaica is our favorite destination. We've probably been there. Well, me myself, my wife was born in Jamaica. I think I've been there about 6 or 7 times, and it's always just amazing going back there. The weather, the food, the culture, it's just amazing. Then when Isabella was born, obviously the pandemic, we probably went 3 years or so without traveling, and that was just a bummer. When Isabella was born she was born in 2022, we finally took our first trip with the three kids, so all five of us. We went to Mexico last year, Cancun, around this time last year actually, and it was a struggle to be honest. We didn't have any help with us. It was just me, Shanika, and the three kids, and we're outnumbered, of course, so that was definitely very challenging. But throughout all the destinations we went to the children, we had just lovely time. We thankfully through the airports, they are very accommodating with parents with younger children, so we were able to line bypass. They when we got on the airplane, they gave us drinks as soon as we got aboard. Took very good care of us. So yeah, it's been a blast.
When thinking about family travel, I asked Courtney to let us know what his and his wife's biggest motivating factor is.
Our biggest need and want for travel is just to escape from the everyday hustle and bustle. The reality is, when you're working full time, when you're a full time parent, you get stressed out. You can probably see the grays on my beard here and some grays in my hair, but it's absolutely stressful. And when you get to get away, you just leave, all your work, all your worries behind, and you just embrace the culture that you're currently in. One of the mottos in Jamaica, no problem, man. Just sit back, relax, have some drinks, and just relax. So that's been our biggest motivating factor is just to get out of here, get away from the everyday, put life on pause and just enjoy what the rest of the world has to offer us.
I then asked Courtney to describe how the idea of family travel has empowered him and his family.
Well, as a unit, it definitely just empowers us. Travel just empowers us to be able to see the world around us. I mean, when I was growing up as a child, I think, well, I come from a family of five, so it was difficult for my parents to, buy travel with all five of us. So we only went to, from what I can remember, we only traveled, we went to Jamaica when I was 5 years old. That was our only trip that we traveled with, as a family unit of five children, seven of us. So yeah, that was very, very difficult back then. So for us now, I just look at it as, we've been blessed, have the opportunity to be able to, maintain the lifestyle that we want. And one of the things that we put on our goals every year is we want to at least hit one destination a year. So, you know, things might not necessarily, go our way. And if that's the case, then of course we're going to delay gratification and we're going to push it off. But as long as we hit our goals and we are where we need to be, then we're going to see to it we're going to travel because we want to make sure that we see the world around us and we be able to enjoy different cultures.
We then start chatting about trip planning. And when it comes to choosing destinations, I asked Courtney whether or not him and his family have any specific requirements or considerations when it comes to this topic.
Well, in terms of time of year, like usually we always try to get out of here in the winter. Like usually around this time of the year, in the past, I'd say 7 to 8 years, you usually never find us here. Like end of July, early February, we'd always be out of here. Just it's so cold and dreary, so we just try to pick our bags up and get out of here because we just need a change of scenery. So yeah, in terms of timing, yeah, we want to get out of here in the winter, at least once in the winter. We also get away every year in the fall. We celebrate a feast called one of God's holy days called the Feast of Tabernacles. So that's usually around end of September, between end of September to middle of October. It's an 8 day festival where it's kept all around the world. We have it locally here in, I believe this year and the past few years it's been in Collingwood, and we've kept there sometimes, but we've been to Florida for the Feast of Tabernacles. Jamaica is usually our favorite destination there. So usually every year we're going to go somewhere in the fall to the Feast of Tabernacles, and we try not to stay here. We want to go somewhere warm if possible, and we usually get away here in the winter. But in terms of when we're planning, in choosing destinations, sometimes we just look and see where the best deals are, to be honest with you. Because I remember last year we were planning on, for our winter getaway last year, we were debating between Mexico and Cuba. And although Cuba was less expensive, the reviews I heard, I've never been to Cuba, but the reviews I've heard about Cuba was just, it's a beautiful country, but everyone says the food is just trash. So we decided, you know what, let's just spend, a couple extra $1,000 and enjoy some nice Mexican cuisine. And yeah, we ended up loving that experience. But a lot of times when it comes to, choosing our destination, price is definitely a considering factor. Of course, we look at the political climate of the country. If there's any sort of like travel bans, we don't want to go, which is a funny story. Last year when we were going to Mexico, I think we booked it around December. Then, like the beginning of January, there was this big thing because I think somebody killed one of the cartel leaders or something. Then it was like, "Don't go to Mexico. There's a travel ban. Don't go there. People are like getting killed or whatever." So we were a little like, "Oh my gosh, should we cancel our plans?" But thankfully, it wasn't. We went to Cancun, and where all that bacchanal was happening was like closer to like inland. So we we still went. There were no concerns there.
To those of us who are still hesitant about family travel, I asked Courtney to highlight the importance of embracing the imperfections.
What we see on social media is not truly real. I mean, people only post like the highlights, the good stuff. They don't really post, the struggles, and anything rough that they're going through or whatnot. So when we see like families, traveling on social media, it's usually like, oh, this is perfect. Look at us. We're at Disney World or whatever. We're just having a grand old time. They're perfectly, dressed, wearing their perfect makeup, the perfect. It looks like a fairy tale almost. It couldn't be further away from reality. So yeah, social media. And one thing that's so dangerous with society is that we like to compare ourselves too much to other people. And for any young families, especially young families with children, they might go on social media, they see other families and their children, at a resort or on vacation or whatever, and they're just having a grand old time. It looks so picture perfect, and it gives the impression that, oh my gosh, it's so easy, let's just pack our bags and go. But the reality is, it is very difficult, especially when you're trying to coordinate multiple children going on vacation. There are so many things that need to be coordinated from, I would say, just the luggage itself. When we traveled last year with all three children, I'm trying to, pack, right? We need to figure out, what do we need to bring? We need to make a list. We need to, have all their outfits picked out for each day. We need to, for the baby, then I make sure we have diapers, wipes, extra change of clothes for the airplane. There's just so many moving pieces. And for me, I'm very meticulous when it comes to planning. So I have a number of different spreadsheets that I use to organize my travel. Otherwise, it's just not going to go smoothly. And if you want to get to that social media sort of bliss that you see when it comes to travel, it takes a lot of work. It's not something that just comes instantaneously. So it all comes from just preparing and planning very meticulously.
We interrupt the story to deliver a very important message. If you're liking what you're hearing and want to learn more, please like, share, subscribe, and leave us a review. Anything you can do to help us out would be greatly appreciated, as your support will go a long way in keeping this podcast alive. Thank you. So all this talk about spreadsheets got me very curious. I asked Courtney to describe how he used these spreadsheets as a tool in his trip planning.
So probably my main checklist is just, what we're going to be packing. So I break it down, daddy's list to mommy's list, then each of the three kids, what their lists are. So, for me, it's just I'm probably the most simple person to travel for. I just have my bare essentials, throw in my underwear, my electronics, my chargers and whatnot. Have a couple clothes for the day. I'm not, I'm very easy. My wife, on the other hand, oh my goodness, she probably has a list 20 times the size as mine because she has to pack so much, and a lot of the stuff is her. She's a big on skincare, so she has all her skincare products that we need to make sure that we're on the list. Her clothes, she probably packs like 5 times the amount of clothes that I pack, and does she end up wearing all of them? But hey, at least they say it's better to be over prepared than under prepared. So yeah, that's her. Then when it comes to the kids, it's tricky because you don't want to. For one, we need to make sure that we're within the weight allowance of I think it's 50 pounds for a suitcase. And I think last year we traveled with five. We traveled with three checked bags because ain't nobody paying. I think it's like $50 one way. Ain't nobody gonna pay all that money for checked baggage. So with them, we tried to just plan their outfit. So we on my spreadsheet, I just put, we'll wear this day, that day. We plan every day and what they're gonna wear each day. We also, of course, kids, they need some sort of entertainment. So I put their toys that they're gonna be traveled with. We need to make sure that the tablets are packed so that keep them entertained on the airplane. And yeah, of course, like for the baby, we need like the wipes, the diapers. I think we did not have to bring a crib last time. We had one time, but where the destination we went to, they did have a crib there, so we just had to make sure we packed our crib sheets and whatnot. So on that spreadsheet, it's just pretty much a list of everything that we're going to need. And as I'm packing, I just check it off. just to make sure that we're not forgetting everything. And of course, same thing when we're ready to come back home. I look at that list and just to make sure I check everything out to make sure we're not leaving anything behind. So very, very meticulous when it comes to planning.
I then asked Courtney to discuss any practical tips and tricks he may have for other parents who are trying to make their family travel smoother and more enjoyable.
Well, one thing for if you're traveling with children, we purchased one of those, those wagons from Costco, and that is just an absolute game changer because when it comes to number one, we can put the kids in that wagon throughout the airport and just roll them around. It depends on the airline, though. We've traveled with, I believe it was WestJet when we were going to Jamaica last year. They did not allow us to travel with it through the airport from Canada. When we were in Jamaica, they did. So check on the airline because some airlines have different stipulations. You'll have to check it at the gate. But if they do allow for you to bring it through that, that is absolutely that's my favorite item to bring to the airport. We pack the kids in there, then we pack the hand luggages in there too. We just roll it around. You don't need to bear about the kids complaining, oh, I'm tired, I'm walking too long, blah, blah, blah. So that's just absolutely amazing. Once we get to our gate, right before takeoff, we can just fold it up. I put it in the bag, and it's waiting for us as soon as we get to our destination, as soon as we get off the airplane. So that is amazing. Another great thing about that is when we're hitting the beach, that's where we put all our beach toys, our beach items, and we just roll it along to the beach. It has the nice, thick, industrial sized wheels, so it goes over the sand very smoothly. So that is just the number one. If anybody's traveling with children, bring a wagon. That's just absolutely amazing to travel with.
Continuing on the topic of tips, I asked Courtney to talk to us about any actionable items that can be used to empower families to achieve their travel goals without breaking the bank.
Budgeting is absolutely key. Like I'm a big numbers guy, and it all starts with first of all making a plan. So every year, of course, we have a plan to hit a destination, and usually our plan is to hit a destination in the winter, as well as the fall for the Feast of Tabernacles. And if we can get another one in throughout the year, that'd be fantastic. But it all starts with budgeting. So we have a plan. We figure out, okay, what do we need? We need to have X amount of dollars in our travel budget in order to hit that goal. And if we don't have that, then, like I said before, we'll have to delay gratification and maybe go either later on in the year or plan a trip for next year. So obviously when it comes to when you're working, you're making income, you have to put money aside, whether it be for your bills. You got to put aside money for your just regular home improvements. You need an emergency fund. Perhaps you want to invest some money. You have to make sure that you have some money aside for every unit. So for us and my family, of course, we do have all those things as well as money aside for travel. Now, this year, like I told you, we're usually out of the country this year, but the budget didn't allow for it this year. Last year was a didn't go as well financially in terms of business as we expected. So we looked at probably around, I would say, November, December, as I'm preparing for my 2024, my business plan and my goals. The two of us, we realized that, it's just not feasible to travel right now. I mean, yeah, we could take money out of our, emergency savings account, but for me, that just doesn't make sense. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm going to be spending what I don't have pretty much. So if I didn't hit that goal financially where I wanted to get to, and I still want to travel, unfortunately, like we made the difficult decision this winter, we're going to put that aside for now until we get back to where we want to. But like I said, it absolutely starts with a budget. You need to have a plan. You need to make sure that you're spending wisely. You're not the issue is a lot of people live beyond their means, even though they might not necessarily have it. oh, I'll just put it on my credit card or whatnot. My credit card balance is always zero. I don't ever want to pay, I think like 22, 23, 25% interest. That is highway robbery. So I refuse to put myself in that situation where I'm living, on debt, and I just don't want to do that. If I don't have it, I'm not going to spend it. That's the bottom line. And what I would encourage young families, please delay gratification. If you're not set for it right now, even though yes, you're dying to get out of here, you're stressed out of your mind. If you just can't financially, reach a destination now, either push it off for another time or just modify it. Maybe just take like a weekend getaway to Niagara Falls or something, which is a lot cheaper than going to a sunny destination. But it's just so important that you stick to that budget and you maintain that proper financial responsibility.
It's one thing for us parents to learn about the various mechanisms and tips that there are available when it comes to budget planning for family travel, but it's another empowering topic when we think about how we're going to impart these lessons onto our kids. So I asked Courtney to provide some actionable ideas that parents can use to empower their children when it comes to essential financial skills and family travel.
Yeah, when it comes to financial literacy, it's really unfortunate that, the school systems, they do such a poor job in really teaching financial literacy. So we we are very on top of that when it comes to our children. They have their piggy bank. I even bought them one of those toy cash registers so they understand how money works. And we play shopping some days where I'm pretending to buy like an item for them. I give them like a $10. I like it costs $4. How much change do I need? So just to let them commute their math skills and to understand, how money works. I also, we give them, maybe a $2 here and there to put in their piggy bank. Then from time to time, I'll take them to their favorite store, the dollar store. I'll take them to the dollar store so they can actually use the physical money that I've given them, and they can actually, turn that into a good so they can purchase something, just so they can understand how money works. So it's very important for them from a young age to understand and getting into the mind process of financial literacy. That way, when they're older, they can, understand and appreciate how money works. And when it comes to travel, it's very important for them to understand, because this year, like, Daddy, how come we're not going away? I want to go to Jamaica. I want to go blah blah blah. And so it's just important to let them know that, we need to be financially, responsible. And although yes, we definitely want to go away, but because we're not in the position where we are financially to go on a trip right now, we're gonna have to push that off until later on in the year. And by then, we should be in a better position where we are right now to reach those goals and to travel. So it just starts off with, getting it instilled in their mindset to understand how money works, and to understand that, we can't just get everything that we want. There's a process to it. And if you don't have the money in order to get to where you want to, then you're not going to get there. So it starts with having that financial literacy, building that money, building that income, and just setting those goals, making that budget, and just empower those kids to learn about the importance of money and the discipline of saving.
Thinking broadly, I asked Courtney to share with us what family travel goals he and his wife have.
Well, one of our goals, my wife and I, we want to hit every continent at least once. So we've been to obviously North America. We're here. We've been to Europe. We did a Euro trip, I think the year before kids were born. My wife has been to Africa. I haven't been to Africa yet. So we still need to hit Asia. What else is there? Australia and Asia, Australia, South America, South America. So that's definitely on our bucket list. We actually might have the opportunity to go to South America within the next few years. So that would be very interesting. But yeah, on the bucket list is to hit every continent at least once. That's definitely something that's been on my mind part of my whole life. I just love to get out there and just to see how other parts of the other parts of the world are living their life. So that's definitely one huge bucket list item that we have. I think traveling has a very, very positive impact on their lives in terms of just being Well, for one, I always say that my kids are so spoiled and they don't really appreciate, like we live in this, this first world country where we pretty much have everything. We go to the fridge, we have food right there. We go to the grocery store, we never have any shortage of anything. So we're very, I wouldn't say maybe spoiled is a little too rough of a word, but yeah, they're spoiled. They don't appreciate especially the lesser side of things, like what people are going through in the other side of the world. So when we were in, Jamaica, for example, last year, we got to see, how other, families are living, and they're not as well off as us. And when you're just in the resort, you can't really see that because resorts, there's food everywhere. Everyone's having a good time. It's just, but when you actually go into the community, which we did, and you can sort of get an idea and feel of, how other people in other parts of the world are living, we see, people, some just looking at some of their homes, aren't very well built up like they are here. Even though there are some lovely homes there, don't get me wrong, there are some very, very wealthy people there, but at the same time, as a third world country, there are many people who are not in the position where they have the luxuries. They don't necessarily have regular running water, running warm water. Some of them need to go outside to bathe. So letting my children see how other people live their lives and they don't have the luxuries that we have here, it just puts the mindset into them, just to let them appreciate how fortunate they are to be in the situation and for them not to take anything for granted, because I find that as a society, we often just take things for granted living here in a first world country. We go upstairs to take a shower, the water is nice and warm, it's coming down on us. We have so much convenience. We need to maybe order some food. We just order Uber Eats foods here in 10 seconds. We go on Amazon, our deliveries here before we can even press send. So we just have so many luxuries in this world, but as we travel and we see how other countries are living, it just makes us to just put the pause button on our life and just to reflect on how, absolutely blessed we are to be here and to see how other people are doing. And we really need to, utilize what we have to really try to give back to the less fortunate. I mean, even here in Canada, there are people who are living, in poverty, underneath their means. So, whatever we can do, if we're able to give back to those persons or even, other countries who are less fortunate. I mean, I try to encourage my children to look at it as, yes, we have lots of blessings. So it's important that we give back to those others who are less fortunate.
I then asked Courtney, in 10 to 20 years, when he's thinking back on his family travels, what thoughts or takeaways would he like his kids to have on these
What I
experiences?
really want to leave with them is just to appreciate every moment, because I mean, at the end of the day, tomorrow's not guaranteed, and like I said, we're very blessed to be, living here in this, developed country. But what I really want them to remember when it comes to travel is just the ability to get out there and just to see how other countries, how other cultures are living their life, because the world is just so vast, so broad, and we're just in our little bubble here, and it's just a very minute amount of the world. So when we get to go out there and travel and just experience what other people experience, it just puts a different mindset on how you view life. And if you're looking at how other people are living their life and you realize how perhaps maybe they're not as well off as we are here in this developed world, it makes you appreciate what you have even more, and it makes you, continue to work towards helping those, which I keep trying to instill in my kids, to help those who are less fortunate, because I'm always of the belief that we're here to serve others. We're not here to be served. Uh, so when we're able to use what we have to give back to the less fortunate, I want my children to be able to have that instilled on them throughout their whole life, that they're blessed, and I definitely want them to continue to use their blessings so they can bless others.
Thanks for listening to Travel Love Legacy. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Doing this really helps me to grow. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Travel Love Legacy. Till next episode, bye.